This presentation will be about how the sociocultural factors affect the fertility rates. The points that we will be discussing are the status of women, level of education and material ambition, government, the type of residence, religion, and health of the mother.
The first factor that we will talk about is the status of women. The status of women is the economic and social rights, freedom and respect given to the woman in the country. In regions where the status of women is low, where women are uneducated or are not paid in employment, birth rates tend to be high and are likely to increase. An example of this case is Nigeria. The status of women in this country is very low, causing the population to reach the current amount of 151 million people. In countries such as Singapore, where the status of women has improved, the birth rate has fallen. Since 1960, great social and economic changes have resulted to full employment, particularly female employment. Because of this, the total fertility rate fell from over 3 to 1.5.
The level of education is the amount of information given to the people. The higher the level of parental education, the fewer the children. Middle-income families with high aspirations but limited means lean towards small families such as people from Moldova. Poor people with limited resources or ambition often have large families such as the people in Ethiopia.
The government can affect the fertility rate by implementing laws to limit the number of children each family has or to encourage families to produce more children. China is an example of a country which prevents women from giving birth to children. Their one-child policy states that married couples can only have one child, and if ever they exceed this number, they must pay a fine. Countries in Europe encourage women to produce children as their fertility rate is very low. Women in European countries are given an allowance for every child they have. These countries build parks and daycares to support the women.
People in rural areas tend to have more children than those in urban areas due to more rigid social pressures of women. Females in these areas have fewer educational and economic opportunities, and because there is a greater freedom and less state control. An example of this would be China. Though they have implemented the one-child policy, this law is not rigorously enforced in the rural areas.
Religion can affect the fertility rate as a consequence of their beliefs and acts that goes against their respective religion. Though you may think that countries that are composed with mostly Catholics have a low fertility rate, such as Italy and Spain, there are still countries such as Mexico and Brazil which have a high fertility rate.
The health of the mother affects the number of pregnancies she has because they may experience a higher infant mortality and a more unsuccessful pregnancy if the woman is not nourished and healthy. Hence, they become pregnant again to compensate for the child they have lost.
As you've seen, there are many factors that affect a country's fertility rate. It is evident that the only way women can prevent themselves from an unbalanced life between their children and finance is by their way of life and their determination to make a change.